because a few of these storms have organized enough, especially across our southern counties, that they have become strong to severe because of that wind potential. So we'll keep the 19 first alert weather day going until midnight. This is that cluster. It's starting to move out of Ohio and largely into Pennsylvania now. So that part is not really as much of a concern for us, though we do still have a little light rain down across Tuscarawas County. But it's this extremely broken line of some scattered showers, a couple thunderstorms that have been in the mix that have had my attention for at least the last hour or so. But you'll see the strongest of those cells now out over the lake. We'll watch lakeshore portions of essentially Lorain County between Lorain, Avon Lake. We'll see if you can't pick up a little bit of this rain. But here's the deal. This line is moving extremely slow off towards the east. So it's probably going to be about another hour unless this thing starts to speed up before we actually really start to see any of those bigger impacts. The actual cold front still out across parts of north central Indiana. So we've got a lot of time before the cold front actually makes its way through. This is just a residual boundary that developed earlier this afternoon well west of us, and it's finally impacting areas where temperatures were able to recover essentially into about the low to mid 80s. So you can see across our eastern counties, southern counties, temperatures a little cooler because we've had some rain, we've had some storms, and certainly a lot more cloud cover. So it's limited how much that temperature can rebound. But places like Lorain, Cleveland, 82 degrees, certainly enough that if these showers and storms want to hold together, they certainly could. So we'll keep that scattered opportunity here in the forecast for at least the next couple of hours. If you saw that in the distance there, that's that storm that's out over the lake. So again, we'll watch it very closely. Don't be surprised if you hear a couple rumbles, at least as we continue on into the overnight. I do think activity will be pretty scattered as temperatures eventually fall into about the low to mid 70s. We'll walk you through where we go from here and if there's any rain impacts to the start of the weekend coming up in just a few minutes. Try to get a little bit more robust, but I'm really starting to lower that impact tracker through the rest of tonight because this line of storms that we saw developing about an hour ago, for the most part, just hasn't come together like we thought it might. So it means our chances for seeing widespread activity have gone down, but it doesn't mean our chances are still zero as we head into tomorrow morning, because it's tomorrow morning that the cold front arrives, and sometimes that can help to give you a little bit more organization with any showers or storms that rolls through. I don't really anticipate much in the way of severe weather, but you may just wake up to a couple rumbles of thunder. It'll still be muggy, but not quite as hot, and the humidity will start to drop a little bit as we begin the weekend. But once we get into Sunday, humidity returns, so does the heat. So that's why that impact tracker goes back up to moderate, because you may want to try and limit some of the outdoor activities you have to some shorter bursts of time, taking frequent breaks, things that we've gotten probably well used to here over the last couple of days. Live look from our Parma Tower camera, you can really see, as we kind of just let this picture resonate, a lot of this lightning that's been developing with some of those storms that have now pushed out over the lake. So you may hear or see a lot of flashes going on depending on where you're at, especially in Lorain County if you're closer to the lake. This is all associated essentially with a boundary that pushed out well ahead of this cold front. It's not the cold front moving through, it's just what we call generally an outflow boundary, but sometimes they can act like mini cold fronts, becoming a focus for some of that shower and thunderstorm activity to develop along. But your cold front in and of itself is still out across Michigan and Indiana, so it's several hours away from making its way into northeast Ohio. For the most part, things here at home are pretty quiet. It's just these couple of cells that we've been watching lifting to the northeast, about 25 miles per hour or so. So if you're along the lake shore, I really don't anticipate too many issues when it comes to additional rainfall. You may have some light showers, but nothing like the overly heavy activity that we're seeing out over the lake right now. And certainly the stuff that's over land is not producing any of the lightning. So should be relatively quiet for the rest of this evening. But again, you may find one or two more of these showers or storms still, even as we head into the overnight. By early tomorrow morning, temperatures at this point still warm because cold front hasn't arrived just yet. So we're into the low to mid 70s to begin the day. But as that cold front passes through during the first half of it, we may get a couple of those isolated showers and storms to develop along it. Outside of that, though, once the cold front clears out of here, we should stay pretty quiet headed into tomorrow afternoon. And I would imagine a lot of us are going to be enjoying sunshine and certainly some quieter weather to get into the second half of the day. Tomorrow is what we would call very seasonable. We're going to be likely right around where average should be for this time of the year. We'll start off the morning a little warmer, a little muggier until that west to northwest wind can settle in. Once it does, helps to drop that humidity a little as we go into tomorrow afternoon, with highs expected about low to mid 80s across the area. So if you are headed out to some of the beaches tomorrow, right now, not seeing too much in the way of wave action. Waves probably about 1 to 3 feet because of that slightly more elevated west wind tomorrow. But I still think overall the rip current risk is going to be pretty low. Just, of course, keep an eye on the kids if you are going to be headed out and about, trying to stay cool as we get into the start of the weekend. By Sunday, heat and humidity start to roll in full force, and that's when you're really going to start to notice things getting a little toasty here. So the big question is, does that hold into your 4th of July forecast? We'll talk about that coming up in the next half hour.